Oh, I guess it's just going to be Matt.
Is it safe to assume that you did your debate?
Will, what are you guys doing here? Have a seat. Oh, good.
I'm here too, but I don't know. I could get up. I could do
Yeah,
it for a bit.
just
No,
go
I
ahead.
want you to do it. He needs to learn a lesson.
Yeah, no, he's not supposed to go to the bathroom.
No, he's not, and he needs to be punished. So let's do this.
Wow. So this is I am surprised to see you guys here. Matt
Yeah.
Christman, Will Maneker.
No, I'm Brendan James. Actually.
Oh, Brendan. Jesus Christ.
I get that a lot. People say Will and I.
I thought
look
you were
related.
looking a little bit like disheveled. I was going to say.
I don't know how to go from here.
Okay,
I've already been
Brendan,
ambushed
sorry.
in this interview by
right,
being
sorry.
mistaken with Will.
All right, sorry about that.
It's okay.
What are you guys doing here? You're not like I did not. I mean, am I wrong to be a little bit surprised that you're here?
No, I think that's appropriate. I did it honestly just because we went to CPAC earlier this year.
Oh, I see. So
and it was
this
a lot
is
of
just
fun.
Tit for tat.
Exactly. And I thought like it would make sense to just see, because like if I remember correctly, this came out of an explicit desire to create like a liberal version of CPAC, right? Was that the
No.
idea? That wasn't the idea?
I don't think so.
I remember from those days of like the early Daily Kos where they were like, the conservatives have so many institutions. They've got all these think tanks. They've got these conferences. We don't have any of those. We need to get them. So I always thought it was like an answer to CPAC. Maybe that's not correct. I don't know.
It's supposed to be some sort of organizing.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I didn't even. What? Are you talking into the mic?
I am.
Do that again. Oh, there you go. Okay.
Hello, everyone out there in Radio Land.
Okay, good.
I mean, I don't know if it comes out of a direct competition or inspiration from CPAC itself, but I mean, it's clearly supposed to be organizing
like a bookend
festival for
and
activists. And
we
stuff
got
like that.
press credentials very easily to go to CPAC, so I just thought let's try it there, and they got them very easily. So like, well, let's just do it. It's even.
Did you get see?
It's even closer.
Did you get credentials here?
Oh yeah, baby.
Now, are you guys are you doing a show?
No. It's honestly for me. It's because I kind of want to write a piece about the two events and the two experiences of CPAC and Netroots Nation. So that's my agenda.
CPAC, I think, didn't start till 2011. I'm looking at this. I don't think it started till 2011.
What?
Wow.
No.
Matt Christman owned and fact-checked and
That
debunked
can't be
on
true.
air.
CPAC is like a
Live.
venerable institution on the right. Are we sure we're thinking of the same thing?
No, Matt, I'm not trying to gang up on you, but I don't really think it did come out of like a
Well, I'm sorry. The
anti-CPAC.
conference was founded in '74.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like I'm taking crazy pills here, being
All right.
gaslit.
Yeah.
Sam Seder's gaslighting people, folks, and it's not okay.
We're making a lot of factual errors left and right today. So
It's Virgil's fault.
It is. It's all Virgil's fault.
yeah, I got completely thrown off. Virgil was supposed to be here, but apparently he had to go to the bathroom.
He had to
He's
go to
in
the
the
bathroom.
toilet right now. That's not a joke.
No.
It's not a joke. He's in the bathroom.
So all right. So give me a little taste. How long you been here? You been here for 2 days?
We just got here yesterday. We didn't spend a lot
We've
of
been here
time.
for 2 days.
Yeah, but we didn't really do anything on Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
What doesn't feel like you're doing much today?
No, we're not.
No, we don't do a lot when we come to these things. We just kind of walk around.
Okay. Well, so what's the early verdict?
I don't know. I mean, it has a lot of. It's interesting. It has very much the same model as CPAC. You've got the breakout sessions, and you've got the things. You've got the big panels. You've got the radio row. You've got the swag area. All I could say is that this one it's more diverse out. Honestly, obviously, everyone is more casually dressed. Everyone at CPAC is wearing a suit.
Right.
And at least what I've seen. It seems more. I mean, they're human beings. They're not reptiles
You're not
like they are at CPAC. I have to say though that the town hall area is much less lit than CPAC was.
I mean, it sounds like I wasn't with you at CPAC, but that the CPAC was high octane.
Oh yeah.
And that makes sense, of course. You know, they're guys in power. They're very energized by that. However, one would then expect the opposition to be as energized from a different place, and I don't know. I wasn't at CPAC, but it feels a little thinner and a little
funereal.
less. Yeah, feels a little moribund, to be honest. I mean, like not to say that the left or whatever, center left or progressive side is itself moribund, but that this isn't maybe the place where all that stuff happens anymore. I don't know. I mean, we're mouthing off in the middle.
I'm not saying anything.
Oh well, I'm mouthing off, but I mean, it does feel that way, and it's probably a good thing to at least acknowledge.
What that it's more low key, or that there seems to be.
Well, there's different strains that are fresh on the left right now than there were, say, back when this was founded. I mean, now you have an actual sense of the beginning of a working class, engagement from certain candidates. I mean, most of all Sanders, probably, in my opinion, really only Sanders in the purest sense, that is probably more of a vehicle for the kinds of ideas and agendas that people used to think could only happen by organizing things like this. Now you have a candidacy that is sort of doing that on its own, and a lot of people here I think are good with Sanders, but I don't know. I get the sense a lot of them are also kind of more professional, middle class Warren type people, and that's it's a different energy. It's a different section of the base or whatever, and I think that's reflected walking around. So
yeah, I mean, I think this in 2015 actually there was a big movement here to draft Warren.
Yeah.
Before I think Sanders had gone to race, maybe it was even 2014.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah.
And it obviously it didn't happen. I mean, I think that's probably accurate in terms of there's a lot of people here who work in institutions, and there's a lot of institutional on the left. And I just saw a poll today that said the story. I guess it was in Politico about the Morning Consult poll showed, or maybe it wasn't from that, but it showed their strengths are two different strengths.
Right. Yeah, we were just looking at that. It's like
really.
Sorry, buddy.
Virgil, you just show up when you want. You just show up when you want.
I'm happy to cede my seat now that you're here, but I haven't been on the show in a while, and I'm here. He thought I was Will. That was a whole bit we did.
Will,
yeah. No, it makes sense.
It's not the first thing that we've mistaken.
No, that's true.
Today.
But
Sam.
no, seriously, do you want to get in on this?
Sam, tell
I don't know if he's being passive aggressive. Why don't you sit down? Because he's
Virgil-
about to start talking about polling, and that's really more your thing.
Go ahead.
Tell Virgil to wait for Will to be done.
We were just talking about the exact poll we were talking about right before you went to the bathroom. The one that showed that Warren and Sanders have different slices of the demographic pie for the primary electorate.
Sanders better with African Americans, better with rural folk. Warren better with folks with graduate degrees. It's a different. What are the implications of that? Because the left is split between two different bases.
I mean, it depends what you mean by the left, because there's a lot of people on the anti-capitalist side of things who say, we need to be going after, more blue-collar workers, people who are more distinctly working class, distinctly doing worse than someone in a comparable position 40 years ago. And that's people who have lower educational attainment. They don't more rarely live in urban areas if they're white. Obviously, African Americans are a substantial chunk of that, recent immigrants, Latinos, and so on. And to say we should not be going after the PMCs, the professional managerial class types, who might still be, under some Marxist analysis, you might arguably still call them working class. But if you're, say, a graphic designer who makes $85,000 a year, and a single person, you don't raise a family, your needs are very, very different from someone, say, who comes from a coal family in West Virginia, where there's really just isn't that sort of industry and that those sorts of opportunities.
But can you go after one of those groups and not the other and win?
I think you go after, if you're talking about going after, I honestly think you only really have to go after one, and that's the more working class voter who is less engaged, because they're the ones who you risk losing during a general, not necessarily to Trump, but to indifference. And that's the real issue. That's what defeated Hillary. It was not people flipping to Trump. It was people just not bothering. And those are the people that are least engaged in politics, most likely to sit an election out if they don't think that there's someone to vote for. Whereas these PMC people we're talking about, they vote every time. They're going to vote, and they're mostly liberals. They're convinced liberals, so even if they don't like Sanders as a first choice, they're going to vote for him. Whereas the people who you might alienate by going with a PMC strategy might stay home.
The other
and
problem
then you lose. You lose Pennsylvania or you lose Michigan like you did last time.
The other argument is that some of these PMCs that we're talking about, they might have class interests that are hostile to that first group.
Right.
And so arguably, it would become a theoretical impossibility to create a functional permanent coalition there. Maybe right now, because of the exigency of Donald Trump, you could get these two groups to unite, but in terms of actually creating a governing coalition, that's another story.
Who was it that stayed home, though, like relative to, let's say, the Obama coalition? Because my understanding is that a lot of the people that stayed home were African Americans, and maybe a lot of them were also disenfranchised. You're talking about Wisconsin, talking about Michigan, Pennsylvania. I imagine it was more of a cross section, but where did they? I mean, who's? And Bernie does better with African Americans than Warren does, but Biden does better than Bernie, right? I mean, so. Is there a sort of a set of material benefits that you can offer that will motivate people in that way?
Well, but I want to address that point that Biden does better than Bernie with African American voters, because first of all, they have essentially the same favorability ratings among African Americans in this country, which is astronomically high.
I'm sorry, say again.
Bernie and Biden have comparable favorability ratings among African American voters, which is extremely high. They are the two, far and away, the two most popular candidates in this field among black Democrats. So I don't really, I don't really think it's the case that one will do better than the other.
But do you think that? But they're offering, it seems to me, very different prescriptions.
They are, but I mean, here's the real thing. Everyone talking about how, all of these voters are on some ideological spectrum, right? And that, if Kamala Harris is a cop, it's going to be a deal breaker, and all, all of this little stuff, or that Warren is taking voters from Sanders. The vast majority of the people who are going to be voting in these primaries do not really have coherent political agendas. They have a general idea of what should be done. They have strong views on certain issues, pretty clear litmus tests. But beyond that, for a lot of them, you see, Joe Biden, yeah, right, he was Obama's vice president. He's a liberal. He's a lefty guy. Bernie Sanders, he's a liberal.
Right.
They're not focused on this granular distinction between democratic socialism and liberalism and things like that.
Yeah, that's my sense too. I mean, so then the question becomes like, how much of this is just, turn off the sound and you get a notion of who they're going to vote for.
I think that ultimately policies have never decided a Democratic primary, and it's really come down to two. I think there's two types of Democratic nominees you get. One is someone who seems like a president who's going to win. And there's no particular affection for this person. Like John Kerry's a good example of that. And the other is someone who represents...
I really liked John Kerry.
You like him? Oh, okay. Well, Sam was the only guy who was like, I'm identity politics for John Kerry.
I did have lunch with him. My mom won lunch with him with the JCC auction like 30 years ago, and I had lunch with him. He was nice.
Yeah.
But good.
And the other is someone who doesn't represent necessarily a platform, but represents a general concept, a strong idea or ideological bent. And Obama's a great example of that.
Right, which was just sort of some vague notion, I'm a change agent.
I'm changed. This is the reaction to Bush. I'm not Bush. We're going to roll back the clock on all of the Bush stuff.
And also represents like a breakthrough, like a demographic that has been unrepresented in presidential politics, finally being able to.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that was the sort of subtext of the word change at that point
Yeah.
was like, we're gonna. This is a big change.
Yeah.
Right, by virtue of being a black presidential candidate, he himself, by his skin color, represented his message, and vice versa.
So, Matt, has this conversation changed your perspective on what's going on here?
No, I've been hearing this from Virgil.
Okay.
All year long. No, I mean,
No, does it change your perspective on the conference?
I mean, I don't really have one. Like I said, I've only been here really a day. I haven't really. I dropped in on one of the panels for a few minutes. I'm really looking forward to the tomorrow when they have the round table or whatever it is, the presidential candidate show. It's kind of interesting though. It seems like a thin herd.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very surprised that. I'm not surprised that like Joe Biden didn't come. That doesn't surprise me. I'm not shocked that Bernie Sanders didn't come, but I'm super surprised that like Cory Booker's not here.
Right.
And Kamala Harris, who have been here in the
Kamala Harris honestly is the one that baffles me the most because she's gaining steam. She's becoming people give her a second look, and like it's time for her to like get some sort of identity outside of a snap moment on Biden in the debate, and coming to a place like this seems like it would be ideal.
It
and
seems
so
like
yeah,
there's a lot of people here who are the sort of people that you want to charm right now and have them say, "Oh, I'm with you."
Right, or you want people here to be like, she's now my second.
Right,
Hey.
exactly. At least be on someone's like scorecard.
Yeah,
Especially, I mean, if you have someone who's going to go back and is a well-known local organizer, you want them on your side, even if they're not in one of the first 4 primaries. Which I kind of think a lot of people just aren't really looking forward to Super Tuesday at this point. But there's no reason Kamala Harris should not be doing that.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising in that regard. It's going to be interesting to see if we're going to see the same activism that we've seen in the years past.
Sim, if I could go back 1 second to a question you posed to Matt, if anything that he's been hearing from our conversation has changed his mind. And I believe the answer was no on that one. He says he's been hearing this sort of thing from me for months. I want to say that I've been saying a lot of things for months that are currently being manifested in reality that are absolutely true. And one was the emergence of the Orb Gang, was
Yes.
100% true.
Well, that
Absolutely
was all you, and I give you credit for that one.
The other was, and I said it on our show. I said it to you months. I said it to you before 2019 began, and I believe, and you can go back to the tape on this. I believe I said it on your show too, and that's Joe Biden will not be the nominee.
I think it's too early for you to say that you've been affirmed in that.
I've not been,
direction.
obviously, I've not been confirmed in that, but the process that I described of why he won't be the nominee has been happening, and Kamala Harris hastened that on the debate, and that's the exact thing that I'm talking about.
It is. I think you can go back 3 months on our show and hear me say that by end of September, beginning of October, he is 3rd in the polls. And I would only amend that now by saying I think he's going to be 4th in the polls by then. These people don't like Joe Biden. People don't like Joe Biden. People think they know Joe Biden, but they don't know Joe Biden.
They just remember him standing behind Obama for 8 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, I will agree that the process that he put out of just as soon as the first real attention gets paid, the numbers just starts going down.
Yeah.
The trend line, that is what people. I mean, that was my original thought too. It's
really?
gonna fade.
Oh, it was your original.
It was.
Okay.
Play the tape back. I said it.
Okay.
It's just that then he had that huge lead, and of course, because if you're on the left, you give it towards panic and horror at all times.
Right.
You just assume, it's over. You second guess yourself and third guess yourself.
do you guys have a lot of like instances where you think that you said something and the other guy did, or vice versa? Like, I mean, does that happen a lot?
We have had moments like that, but thankfully we can go to the tape and we can make
you
sure.
guys don't strike me as guys who go to the tape.
No.
I mean, if we had
You always say you're going to go to the tape, but I don't.
well,
feel
we're
like
saying
you
we're
did.
hoping someone else goes to
Exactly.
the tape.
Ideally, and the thing is, our fans are, I guess I'd say, focused enough to do that for us.
Yes.
We have enough people who very, very assiduously attend to the program who can remind us who said what, and we don't have to actually do it.
We have a couple of fans who do that as well.
Yes.
Keep a very specific record of almost everything I've ever said.
I do want to put another chip down right now. And I forget if I did say this on our last election roundup for our show, but I'll say it. I'll iterate it on your program. That I will bet on the trifecta, and say that this race will come down to Bernie, Warren, and one other candidate, who I believe will be Kamala Harris.
I think
that's substantially likely, especially after her debate performance.
And the thing is I guess I kind of agree with that, and I see the contours even shaking shape now. I think the difference is I will stress that I am trying to be largely agnostic about all this stuff.
He doesn't want to make a bet against me again.
I've lost enough bets that I know that I cannot see into the hearts of my fellow citizens nearly well enough to be confident on this stuff.
Matt, I'm not a very good gambler. I mean, shoot, why don't we just, I don't really want to bet you, but if you want, you're practically taking money out of my wallet here.
Yeah, all right. Keep going.
All right.
But no, I think that if that does come to pass, if that shapes up to be the race, certainly early, by Super Tuesday, then I don't see Harris losing, honestly, is the thing. That's where we differ.
Well,
I think, for whatever Harris's strength, and she has many strengths, and under this theory that this theory says that the sort of establishment forces of the party, the anybody but Warren Sanders crew,
really anybody but Bernie though.
Right. Would coalesce around Harris. But I also think that Warren is broadly acceptable to most of the party. And I kind of think it would more look like anybody but Sanders will divide between Harris and Warren. In that position, I think Warren is best positioned, but you just can't count out Sanders' organizational capacity and a national organizational capacity.
That's the thing I think we have yet to see, really.
Because he didn't really have that last time.
Yeah, he didn't have that last time, and I think we won't really know until we start to get into the primaries, like, if that is actually what we think it might be.
Right.
But Will Menaker, Virgil, Texas, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks
for having us. So I'm usually the one thanking.
Yes.
I got confused there.
Thank you so much. All right, folks.